Hi, my name's Fiona Hick and I work as an Environment Manager for Woodside Energy. The Environment Manager role is interesting in that it covers from exploration all of the developments and projects that are happening within Woodside. So basically everything that's being developed before it gets on stream and operating. So as Environment Manager, I'm responsible for all of the environmental input that goes into those designs. So making sure that we're designing facilities that have the lowest possible environmental footprint. I'm also responsible for the interface with the regulator, so all of our environment plans, all of our operations need to be approved by the regulator, so all of the documentation and communication associated with that. I initially studied engineering. I didn't know what kind of engineering I wanted to do, so I started doing mechanical engineering. I liked the idea of engineering in that it was problem solving, so it was a team of people getting together and nutting out a problem or building something. When I looked around at places I might be working after finishing, I thought metallurgical engineering might be a good fit. It covers everything about mineral processing. After I'd been working in the engineering field for a few years, I realised that I wanted to go on more of an environmental tangent, if you like. So I studied environmental science, and now I've been able to mix the two and was working as an environmental engineer for some time. My last role was as head environmental engineer for Woodside, and in the role that I'm in now, as Development Environment Manager, I'm responsible for environmental engineering input as well as the environmental approvals. I started off in research and development, so I was working at a place called Technology Park where they had labs and they did tests on things for Argyle diamonds and the coal mining industry in the eastern states, and also work for the iron ore industry in the north of WA. So it was a lot of research and development, and did that for 6 months, and then they needed someone on a 6-month secondment as a process engineer in iron ore out of Karratha, and I put my hand up for that and ended up staying for 3.5 years. When I was working in iron ore and living in Karratha, I got to know a lot of people that were working in the oil and gas industry because we had the North West Shelf venture just next door. And I realised that I wanted to try the oil and gas industry. It's a big industry in Western Australia, and so the transition was fairly smooth in that there were lots of people before me that had changed across from mining into oil and gas. It was a steep learning curve at first. There's a lot of 3-letter acronyms in the oil and gas industry, as there probably is in every company. So there was a lot of learning, new people, and completely new process to understand. A steep learning curve, but I'm glad I made the change. The resources sector, everything is on a large scale. So the projects have, are in the order of billions of dollars. So there's a lot of scope for interesting work. There's a lot of scope for implementation of interesting technology, and often you're working with a whole range of people from around the world too. So there's such a lot of opportunities for working in different places. There's obviously head office in the city, but you can also be working onshore as well as offshore facilities. And we also have people working around the world in our contractors' offices. So there's a lot of potential for working in different places. So I have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, and I balance having a family with work. I work part-time, 3 days a week. Perth's a great spot. I think it's a great city. It's got a lot to offer in terms of the beach, in terms of the CBD as well. Right on the river, there's great restaurants and bars and things. We live close to the beach, so we spend a fair bit of time down there because we're lucky enough to be able to walk to the beach. So we do that probably every morning in summer. We also, about 3 years ago, bought a place just near Margaret River, some land down there, so we try and get down there as much as we can. Working as a woman in the resources sector is great in that there's a great variety of roles, and in my experience it's been really good being able to have a family and also have a career, because in the resources industry some of the companies, like for example Woodside, are very much focused on retaining women in the workforce and able to accommodate flexible working arrangements. So but a lot of women that I know, and equally a lot of men, are taking advantage of flexible working arrangements to do things like drop their kids at school or have extended leave during the year. So it works quite well. In the resources industry, there's a huge breadth of roles available. I've seen people that have tried one form and then moved across to another. So there's a lot of capacity for finding out where your passion is and what you're really interested in. In terms of my career path, I studied engineering and then wanted to move into the environmental field, and have had really interesting roles in environmental engineering since being with Woodside. I find the job satisfying in that we have the opportunity at the front to influence the final design. So when you see it built, or when you see it floated down from a shipyard in Singapore or Korea, you've actually had the opportunity to influence that design that will then operate for upwards of 20 years.